But let's talk about GJA, since we are talking about the media, etc. I wanted us to talk about the implications generally that some of these things, I mean, we're talking about 131. What are the implications that is going to have for media in general? Let's try and tie that into GJA. On Friday, journalists in Ghana
How many radio stations does multimedia
have?
6.
Is it 6? And yes. Are you adding all the ones in the other regions?
Yes, we have 4 in Accra. Joy, Adum, Asempa Hits, and then we have Love and Shrine.
Love and Shrine.
6. Has any been affected? No. Why?
Well, apparently there was an Asempa in there somewhere. So just so you're aware, that Asempa is not our 94.7 FM. It's a different Asempa radio, we understand, in Kumasi, no, in the Ashanti region, right?
How many radio stations do we have generally across the country?
I think we have about, I had about 300.
No, about 400.
400.
400, well, the last time I had
so
was
131 have been affected.
So it's not a big deal?
Those who have been affected is their own doing.
If you take 431. I'm told that we have 431 media houses.
So 131 affected,
300 more.
Not.
That's
so
okay.
What did the 300 do that the others couldn't do or failed to do or neglected to do?
I think we should be, to be fair, we should look more into the community radio, you know, media houses. I think the problem may be coming from there. I mean, that's just my thought. Anyway, but we could go a bit more into that. So basically, you're saying that it doesn't, you know, there isn't any implications for media generally.
I don't.
Except maybe you make them a bit more serious.
I think when we position ourselves to hold others accountable, we must first be seen as holding ourselves.
I agree.
Accountable. We must be seen as ourselves abiding by the laws that govern our operations before we can be trusted and relied on to hold others accountable. I think it's only fair that this expectation is had of us. So to that extent, I do not anticipate that this will be such a big problem. Maybe the NCA can decide to give everybody a moratorium and decide that, okay, we are going to allow you to pay a certain amount, especially for those less endowed stations in forgotten communities and under-deprived, underserved areas, that we are going to give you a certain moratorium and maybe give you a certain percentage that, looking after your books, we know that you don't have too much money. So pay this, and from henceforth, regularize whatever you're supposed to do to conform with the law. The NCA may consider that as a way out.
I think, as Manasseh said also, that it's a great opportunity for the NCA to begin to look at the law again, so that if the community radio, and of course, we also know that some people take advantage of some of the exemptions that they have as community radio stations to front for commercial radio station operators. So I think that this is an opportunity for them to look at the law again and see how we can empower the community radio stations who are helping those people at the grassroots with development, to help them and push them to do more, and of course make those who are doing commercial also pay. But journalists have spoken. They say it's a for money. Before that, there were lots of social media campaigns going on, and Manasseh here has a lot of questions to answer. People have, in fact, there's been a lot of heat brought on him right after the elections. They said, some people asked, the regime changes. They say, the regime changes, how markets? Okay, Manasseh, so journalists in Ghana say that they want to maintain the status quo in Afomoni. You are one of those who thought that he was not the man to maintain. You lost on that argument because journalists in Ghana do not agree with you. They don't think so.
Well, and I'm not very surprised. The post I put on Facebook said Afilmoni's victory or the results of the GGA election reflects the state of journalism in Ghana.
What do you mean?
What I mean is that if journalists are not quality, we won't elect quality leaders.
Really?
Yes. And I'm saying this because there is no civilized community of journalists, okay, who would ignore the fundamental issues connected with Afilmoni and so elect him. And these things happened over a period of time. And the most painful one was when the presidency took journalists out and there was an accident. One of them died. And I'm talking about Samuel Nyama of the Ghanaian Times. His widow made a statement that the results of the investigation, the outcome should be made public so that they will know at least what the circumstances under which this woman, her husband, died. Now I have evidence, and I did a documentary on it, that journalists consistently were being treated like trash at the presidency. I had opportunity to witness it once, and I covered the presidency only once. Seth Kwame Boateng had traveled to the Upper East region. They were actually there with President Mahama in 2012 when the Malcolm disaster happened. So he had to come down, and there was a delegation of rescuers coming from Israel. So we're made to go to the president's house in cantonments to cover their arrival. Now we're giving 8 o'clock. We're at the editorial meeting when I was asked to leave, so I got there around 7:30, and we're about to enter. I met some colleagues from GTV. So the people said, security, we're about to enter the yard. And they said, no, you hang around. And if you know former President Mahama's house in cantonments, if you don't enter the yard, you have a gutter and then the road. So that hanging around were there, and Wisdom Awuku was then one of the presidential aides in charge of the media. He came, we greeted, and he also entered. We were there, we're not giving water, no food, nothing, not even sit, we were not even asking of food, but where to sit. He came back at about 11 something and told us that the program was likely to be postponed to about 1 o'clock. So those of us who could wait should wait. Those who couldn't wait should go to their newsrooms and come back. And before he came, I had raised concerns, and quite a number of people there raised concerns about the fact that for 3 hours we're not even given a place to sit and we're in the sun. So when he finished speaking, I wanted to raise this issue. I started, someone said, I won't allow you to even finish. This is what your colleagues go through every day. It's not rosy at all. When I met you in the morning, I told you that for you it's going to be a baptism of fire. And all this while I had my recorder on recording him, he didn't know. The question is, why should covering the president be a baptism of fire? When I'm not...
I think when he said a baptism of fire, he's perhaps referring to the fact that you were new,
yes,
to something that, of course, he perceives as normal.
Yes, that's the suffering. And he said you can call Seth Kwame Boateng and ask him, this is what they go through every day and nothing is likely to change. We're not going to treat you differently because you're Manasseh. And I said, I don't expect to be treated differently. Just give us a place to sit. I know the president has his own schedule. I can force him, but this is a place you cannot move to go and eat, buy water, do anything. Because when you move, and we're going in a convoy, if the convoy left you couldn't come back to the newsroom to tell your editor that I went to buy water, or I went to find a place to sit, and the convoy left me.
I missed the story.
So at the end of the day, this man wouldn't allow me to speak. He said that was what was happening. And some of the journalists I interviewed actually came back to tell me not to use their voices.
Great.
Because Wisdom Awuku had spoken to their editors or whatever. And in 2015, when the accident happened, one of those journalists was actually part of those who were injured. I went there to speak to them. He in particular actually said, I shouldn't use his voice. I told him that I still have your voice from 2012. I want to do a story on the difficulties you people go through. He said no. So I got a few people and went to Afilmoni. And from the beginning, he started defending the presidency. So at the time I said, the presidency has every reason not to give you full disclosure. He said, oh, there's nothing wrong with the car. For what they have learned, this rental company.
Okay, well, for lack of time, I'm going to have you wrap it up. I mean, as in,
yes,
summarize for me a bit.
So briefly, this was someone who was defending the presidency against the journalist. And I reminded him that his own journalist, Napoleon Atukito, was part of those who had the accident. And he said they had cause to complain about the driver and the state of the vehicle. When I put this in, so Napoleon Atukito was asleep. So he didn't know what happened. So you send your journalist out. He comes to tell you something, and you choose to believe the presidency. And the long and short of it all was that my investigation revealed that this was a wayside rental service. I called the owner of the company. He said, well, a sole proprietorship. Now, I don't have vehicles, so when people come, I go to, I get people's vehicles to give to them. So that statement that the AU conference and ECOWAS summit, they use them, it was a lie. Not quite long ago, some journalists were walked out of the court, and they had to even petition the Chief Justice. Before Afilmoni even listened to them, he went on radio to defend the judge. And they were so angry. And quite recently, you saw almost all civil society groups descending on him.
So you think that there is a certain, what's the word again? There's a certain build-up of negative, let's say negative, there's a certain consensus that doesn't really work in his favor. If that is the case, why does he still emerge the winner? Is it because you don't have enough of the people you call quality journalists in the Journalism Association, which is why a lot of people have argued that you sit out and talk, but at the end of the day, you're not a part of the organization you're complaining about. So we remain where we are.
It is not just being part of the organization we are complaining about, but what happened is an endorsement of mediocrity.
In your opinion?
An endorsement of a timidity. I saw one journalist say, oh, humility won, and I said, this is not humility, this is timidity. If a journalist is beaten up today, I can trust the Media Foundation for West Africa to fight for a journalist more than the GGA. But the Media
Foundation for West Africa was not on the ballot paper. It was
Lloyd
Evans and it was Johnny Aite. I mean, to be fair, the three of them put together, you thought that the two others could have done a better job than Afilmoni?
I think Afilmoni failed the least test.
Okay.
So you were willing to try fundamental test that when someone attacks a journalist, when a journalist is treated badly, a presidential staffer took a journalist recorder
and broke
attacked the journalist, took the recorder and destroyed it. The GGA was quiet. It was the Media Foundation for West Africa which led journalists to write a petition to the presidency, even replaced the recorder. Okay. And at that time, Afilmoni was the director of radio at GBC. This person I'm talking about, Yaya Kwama, was also from GBC. So if you put all of these together, and the regional chairmen and chairwomen of GGA came together against him, that at least, if for nothing at all, get this person to apologize.
But it was the same regional executive who helped and worked very hard for him to win, don't you think?
A lot of things went on, and if you speak to some people at the regions, they'll tell you some names were registered and the list was manipulated. On the day of the election, we got there and some names that were brought earlier were changed, to the extent that one of the presidential aspirants did not have his name in the list. I went to the chairman of the election committee and said, look, Benasuro, I signed the names, I signed the list, and I'm telling you, Johnny Aite's name was on the list. So how come his name is not on the list today? But all of that, no one is prepared to listen. Yes, so if they decide to endorse him, the fact that Americans voted for Donald Trump does not mean Donald Trump has changed. He's still the Donald Trump we know.
Malik? Are you part of the regime changes, by the way?
If I voted, I would have voted against Afilmoni. There's no doubt about
that. I don't know who I don't know. I mean, I'm stuck with being the only neutral person here, right?
And my reason simply is that he doesn't represent a voice for journalists. He doesn't represent a strong voice.
Apart from all that Manasseh has said, is there any different thing you would have expected from someone like him as a leader of journalists in this country?
I just didn't see him, I haven't seen him to lead.
So he's not a leader, he doesn't possess leadership qualities for you?
I haven't seen him to lead. And the events Manasseh narrated were clear demonstration of somebody who wasn't willing to stand up for journalists.
How do you say the person is also a government employee?
We are told that he Afilmoni, went to the 37 military hospital with the reporter. And the reporter's recorder got crashed. And he did absolutely nothing.
Okay.
And it took the Media Foundation for West Africa to produce a petition, which all of us signed, asking that the person who crashed the reporter should be sanctioned. The GJA did absolutely nothing.
Okay.
And Manasseh has pointed out, this is a GJA president who was willing to accept a story told him by a presidential staffer who was not in the bus which had the accident.
But Malik, we don't completely blame him.
He was willing to discount the narration of events as told him by his own reporter, who was in the bus.
Would you not find it a natural, easy, perhaps lazy position for him, as someone who works or someone who is employed by the government, to speak against the government? He's not employed
by the government. He's employed by the state.
But yes,
of course. The state is distinct.
But the state is run by the government.
If you are not confident, you will pander. You would pander to anybody who is in government.
Okay.
It was a confident.
So that's your reason.
I mean, the president of GJA is a privileged position. If you are a president of GJA and you are timid and you are diffident and you lie in a supine position before the government because you work for a state agency, then the problem is you.
Okay.
And on those occasions, he just didn't come up.
Okay.
And of course, he made matters worse by issuing that shambolic, questionable statement asking
but most people who have spoken to that statement have said that it is right in principle, except that they weren't sure about the timing, because they felt that the timing, because Manasseh at the time was investigating a particular story about Jospon, then it appears that he was the statement was issued in favor of Jospon.
Obvious. It was obvious. The statement actually said that recent series of stories on alleged impropriety involving state businesses.
He's gotten another 4 more years. He's got 4 more years, as we know, or as we know how the Constitution works. He's got 4 more years. In the meantime, just within this week,
he just has a presidency. He doesn't have authority. He has power. He doesn't have authority.
Okay. So, but I'm trying to tie that in with the right to information bill. Just this week, Manasseh has been sharing his own experiences about the hardships that he has had to go through as an investigative journalist looking for information. It was 16 years, and we're still talking the right to information. Well, it's in the 17th year, but basically we have nothing to show. And I called it in the beginning the drowning call, because I mean, after 16, 17 years, you ought to be tired. Can you link that up somehow? Maybe in the next 4 years, this is something he's going to help push. Now the GJ is going to be a union, right?
Are you trusting the GJ to push
as for the GJ, I think we can go to bed and forget about the GJ, and I don't really have any hopes in the GJ. But as for the right to information law, I don't think we should be tired. I just finished reading Mandela's Long Walk to Freedom yesterday.
Congratulations! I started that book. That book is just huge.
Oh, it's 751 pages.
Yeah,
when
I started
big.
and then
this guy finished reading. I gave him a copy of my book. He's even still keeping.
No, I didn't read it because his was the
I'm not even halfway through.
Oh, actually, when you really want to get serious with it, I got serious last week.
Are you trying to do what Malik has been doing to me on this show? Anyway, let's.
No, I'm just saying I have been where you are now, and I'm sharing my experience.
He's actually said worse than I
said.
Yes, no.
That
you did better with yours,
if you get serious with it, it wouldn't take you more than a week to finish, because it's a very interesting book.
I will try.
And what I realized was that the ANC was formed in 1912, and it was around 1994 that it was allowed to hold an election. Okay, so in all of these years, about 80-something, 82 or so years, it was just in the books as a political party, banned a whole number of times. It became so illegal to even belong to the party. So no matter how long it takes, let us keep pushing.
Okay.
And at least spill into the conscience of the politicians and the leaders we have.
Okay.
If we give up, we will never get what we want, because the right to information law, I think if we talk about democracy, we can't have democracy in the dark. So that law should be passed. And beyond the GG or any identifiable group, every individual journalist should use the least opportunity they have to push this bill. to be passed, because if it happens, it will help a lot of us, because when you go somewhere, journalism is so easy. You can write, request, and get information. Here, you will never get it. So those countries that have those laws, their journalists are able to do stories with facts, information, and sometimes our own people read it and say, wow,
this is good journalism.
This is good journalism.
And they say, like
journalists in Ghana don't do ABC.
Without recourse to the
they have no idea what it takes to get a piece of information from a government, even the most harmless piece of information. You go and then you find a lot of difficulties.
Okay. Malik, what do you say? I'm going to read a bit of some comments that I have. Unfortunately, my phone has decided not to work, and I'm not getting anyway. I'm going to read some comments that we've had from Manasseh's page. I'm sure a lot of you have been following his discussion with a lot of interest. I'll read a bit of that. But Malik, your thoughts on the GJA versus the Right to Information Bill in 2017. Ought we expect anything better from the GJA with regards to this particular bill?
No.
Or no?
No. I don't. What's going to
happen?
Why
don't we put pressure on them so we get them to work at least?
But if a GJA president can issue a statement not commending investigative journalists but condemning them, and willing to speak for a private business when he hasn't spoken to the journalists doing the stories, he doesn't know what the facts are, he doesn't know what facts you have and why you're doing the stories that you are doing, he's not interested. But he can issue a statement and tell you that you should be careful not to undermine private businesses. How can you hope that that GJA president can do anything better for you?
You sound very hopeless.
So we can forget about the GJA until a Philmoni is gone.
Oh wow.
Well,
are you not just losing the fight? I mean, if you think that the GJA ought to do something more, and your colleague journalists have spoken, why not rather put pressure on them to do what they ought to do,
but
rather than just say,
what is the pressure? What pressure?
I mean, to make sure that
a lot of things to force them to issue a statement on a matter, for example, or force them to take an action. Can you do that? How are you going to do that?
When this press statement came in the wake of the Jospon investigations, I
Please
had
wrap up
an executive of the GJA telling me that, look, I don't know anything about this press statement, that I'm hearing it from you for the first time. And this was supposed to be a collective decision. So at the end of the day, we can hope that I think 2 people have joined the race. I think the organizing secretary and also the general secretary, Edmond Kofi Yeboah of Daily Graphic.
You like him?
I like him so much. He's a principled person.
Very biased, Manasseh.
I'm not biased. I shouldn't have any difficulty telling someone who is wrong and telling someone who is right that you are right.
I hope they will not disappoint you and the other journalists.
Well, it depends on how the others cooperate with them. One person does not.
Okay, so we are talking about right to information.
Yes, you wanted to put that in quickly. If you don't mind, let me just read these comments and then. So this is from Solomon Nyantechi. He says, one of my favorite programs. That's how News File began before they turned it into NPP NDC Affairs. Is it? Is it MPP NDC Affairs? Manasseh has a very interesting smile, by the way, Mr. Nyantechi. Clement Tahiru says, watching you live from Bongo. Just mention my capital city. Watching you live from Bongo. Just mention my name. Okay, so Clement Tahiru, is it that you want us to mention your name, or you want Manasseh in particular to mention your name? Manasseh, maybe he wants you to mention his name. So he's watching from your hometown.
Yes, and I'll not only mention his name, but I'll greet him. Clement Zayore.
Okay. Okay, and Zayore. Okay. Stephen Asegme says the other categories of bad citizens are right there in the media as rented, delusioned, sensational journalists who, instead of holding corrupt leaders accountable, providing the right information and enlightening our illiterate parents at the grassroots to vote based on issues, are busy doing the bidding of their court paymasters against the national interest. That is Stephen Asegme. Daniel Yeboah, is it Cream Boy? Okay. I'm watching why. Great submissions. Kudos, guys. Dramani K. M. Frank. big ups. I just can't miss this program for any reason. Brilliant discussions all time. Thank you very much for that vote of confidence. Paul Hey, it's one of my very religious viewers, says bitter losers. Okay, you're referring to Manasseh, I guess. Manasseh, you're a bitter loser, apparently. Echo Kwanzaa says, watching you live. Paul again, Lloyd Evans would have been a disaster if he had won. Nana Esuman, I think you want to say I really like the discussions today. Keep it up. Thank you very much. Nice program. Is Efo Doji
Sebastian from Soga Kope.
Okay. Okay, so those are some of your comments. Let me take the final one. Okay, so Yaloma Conveng says, next time, greet in Dagare. Good job, yo.
I won't sit on this TV and greet the Gaba people.
Don't bring
I'm their
yourself.
chief.
So they're just going to start a war over greeting. Can you imagine?
I'm sure those of them in the Upper West region, they are so happy. And this lady works at Radio Progress.
Oh, that's
yes.
Oh, I guess she can give us a bit more information so we can follow up. Yeah, so we can follow up on the community radio issue. Meshak Inkum, watching you live, seems to have a personal problem with this Afro man. That's one of the questions I actually had for Manasseh. Manasseh, you answered that question right after Malik answers the right information. Do you have a personal issue with him? Today is Azambini Festival. God bless you, Gifty, and my feeling brother, Manasseh. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for the vote of confidence you have in this program. Malik, right information. Let's see if we can do that quickly and move on to the politics.
I'm just hoping that this government will not do what previous governments have done. Promise the right to information law when you are in a position, and when you get into government, you turn your backs, and even worse, when you lose the election, then you say pass the right to information law. That will be the biggest betrayal of the pro-democracy movement in Ghana, because the current president has championed everything constitutional, including right to information law. Everything he stands for, everything he's noted for, requires that this should happen under his government, without any delay. But I'm not naive. I know that politicians say one thing when they don't have the power to do it, and then when they have the power to do it, they say another. It's everybody's fervent prayer and hope that this doesn't happen with this president, because it is absolutely important that we have a law, because it is senseless to have a public officer take a default position that whatever information you want, you won't get it. The default position is hide all the information, regardless of what the information is about, hide it. And there is no consequence. That people can actually go to a court of law and say that a docket is missing. And there are no consequences for that. That a public officer can tell you, I cannot give you this particular information that you are asking for because there are conditions under which I will give it to you. And when you satisfy those conditions, they say, oh, the information is missing. At the material moment that they were telling you that they can only give you if certain conditions prevail, did they know that the information existed or not? If they didn't know that the information existed, why did they tell you that they will give it to you when those conditions obtain? And when you make those conditions to prevail, they now tell you that the information is missing.
So for you, this is crucial, a crucial moment, or this law is a crucial law for this government as part of its success.
On behalf of the Ghanaian people, they have a right to see the contract.
All right, I agree, certainly agree. And so if you are in the NPP administration, bear in mind that, I mean, this station has been called Regime Changers. The Regime Changers are watching, and we'll be here to make a lot of noise, a whole lot of noise about your inability to do this particular, I mean, this is actually one of the promises. So we'll be looking out for that. So let's try and we'll have a few minutes. Let's try and wrap it up. You
said whether I have a personal problem.
Oh, do you have a personal? Thank you for reminding me.
The question is no, because I feel money.
I don't expect you to say yes if you do.
I will say it. Why do I fear anybody?
You fear that the guy you want.
Oh, don't mind them. They need attention. I feel money was my mentor.
Okay.
before I came to journalism school, where I grew up, Ketekrachi Lakeside, the only radio station we had then was Volta Star Radio, the sister radio station of GBC. And I listened to GBC News and radio news commentary. And it was the first thing I did when I came to the journalism school. I used to listen to the commentaries, and for I Feel Money, his scripts were so very interesting. And one which I do not forget is the one he wrote when Kofi Annan retired from the UN position and was coming home. He wrote a very brilliant piece. When I came to GIJ, that's Ghana Institute of Journalism,
you have about 2 minutes to wrap it up.
I told him I admired him. And I feel Money was the first to put me on radio, 2008 elections. So he's someone I've worked with. I treated him like a father. So I like him as a person. I like him as a journalist. But I think he's a very terrible leader. And that is my issue. Not that...
You don't have any...
If people think this is personal, then so be it.
No, I think I won't agree with you if you say if people think it's personal, then so be it. So Manasseh says it is not personal. Whatever
I have explained the circumstances, but there are people who wouldn't listen, so you can't force them to.
But I think anyway, he said he has no personal issues. I mean, no, personal issues. Okay, I was going to say something that I would have ideally easily said in the newsroom, but I won't say here. There are no personal issues. Okay, so I guess that answers it. Let's do a bit of politics. Personally, but for the involvement of Kolebu and let's say for the involvement of Kolebu, and when it comes to the what's the guy's name again? Apia Stadium issue, the involvement of our security agencies, I would personally not be interested in talking about this, but let's spend the rest of our time dealing with it. The controversy over how the intervention of 2 deputy chiefs of staff forced the Kolebu CEO to rescind his decision on opting out of an agreement with Unibank took an interesting twist this week, and I'm sure you've been following. So there's been a leaked information, or a leaked audio that apparently was a conversation between A+ and the deputy head of CID. Did I get that correct? The deputy head of the CID, right? And that has been one of the things that dominated the headlines over the weekend. I don't even know where to start from. I'm going to leave it to you both. Do you want to start with that, or do you want to tackle the Apia Stadium, which I'm personally not really enthused about?
Well, Apia Stadium, I don't think it deserves our attention. That is what I personally think. I don't think I would want to spend time discussing it.
I would agree with you on that. I don't know if Manasseh agrees. I doubt. Malik.
I'm more handsome than he is.
Actually, I
disagree. Come on, please show the both of us and let's see who is.
Actually, I disagree. I think I'll choose Malik.
Thank you. Thank you.
Please, let's move on.
Okay, so I think we can dismiss it, not because of the person and the comments he made, but because the police once again acted in a manner which is inconsistent with our law. There is no law against insulting the president. And nobody should be arrested by the police for insulting the president. As simple as that. The police have no authority to arrest anyone, and the basis of that arrest is that the person has insulted the president. The police can't do that.
And you know why I'm saying that this, and I agree with Manasseh when he says that this doesn't warrant, because it's like a cycle. It's an unbroken record. It's like you talk about it, yes, but it will still happen again, because once there's a change of government, all the leaders or the heads of the police are all going to change.
Let's keep telling the police that they don't have any power and have no business arresting any citizen for insulting the president. We have to keep saying,
but we've told them that.
We can't get tired telling the police that they have no business at all arresting anybody for insulting the president.
Well, I think that we've done that over the week.
Especially this president. He was the one who led the repeal of the criminal libel law. He was the one who did it. Not too long ago, when he met editors and other journalists who interact with them, he said he prefers a boisterous, noisy, sometimes scandalous media to a media that respects a culture of silence of yesterday. That's what he said.
So in that case, when the president comes out with a statement, wouldn't you rather expect the president, who is a champion of freedom of speech, to come out then and say, I think the police erred, or they, I mean, I think they did not.
Good judgment doesn't warrant the president to publicly rebuke the
But
police.
to say the president has said that he's not interested in this matter, so let's just drop it.
That's it.
Yeah,
but good judgment doesn't warrant that the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces will come out and publicly, via statement, tell the police that
I mean, not in the words that I just used, but I mean, in a way that, that gives people confidence.
What the information minister did was the same thing, because the president was attacked and said the man has no interest in pursuing the case.
That's all.
Yes, but that's different from saying that I think you erred.
Yeah, that's different from publicly rebuking the police, as many were asking the president, or some were asking the president to do. I think it was not founded.
Okay, so case die.
It is only the involvement of the police that we should talk about. As for the comments that the guy made, I mean,
right.
we can ignore them with the content.
So the police had no business. I mean, that's your position. They had no business arresting the guy.
The criminal libel law is no longer there.
So then, what it had no business? What were they doing?
It's only Section 208 that allows the police to arrest somebody for a publication or a comment that the person has made, and it is only when they believe that what the person has published or said is likely or has a tendency to cause fear and panic.
Okay.
Beyond that, you can't arrest anyone.
Okay, since we don't have a lot of time, let's try and deal with Korle Bu, because Korle Bu is at the heart of healthcare delivery in this country, and it's something that everybody ought to be concerned about and something that we ought to talk about. It's all the twist about the A+, the Deputy Chief of Staff issues, and then what just happened today. And Manasseh, you did a lot of stories on that. You were in studio this morning on radio to talk about the release that we've had from the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. They're saying that following that intervention, they're going to have to go on with Unibank, both Unibank and Stanbic, in that transaction, even though apparently it's costing us a whole lot of money. May I start with you, Manasseh, since you've been working a lot on this story today, what you make of all of these, and going out into the week, what your journalistic expectations are?
Well, sometimes when things happen in the wake of it, everybody speaks because they find the audio very scandalous. So going forward, the question we should be asking is, was there the basis for the Deputy CID to hide anything? I have seen the report that the CID wrote on this matter to the president.
Okay.
And it talks about some of the things that the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital has stated in a statement. And there are two issues here. There are administrative issues in terms of safeguarding the revenue generated at Korle Bu. And there's also an allegation of corruption leveled against two people. And I have got quite a number of the statements. Almost all the parties have written to the police. I have tried from all sources, and perhaps tomorrow morning on Joy FM we should be delving deep into all of that to get a merit.
Okay.
But I have with me here a statement by Kwame A+, and this is what he said to the police. Actually, he wrote briefly and then attached a very larger piece, and he says, and I'm reading what Kwame A+ wrote. He says, I wish to respond to an invitation sent to me by the Ghana Police Service, the Financial Forensic Unit of the CID headquarters. I wish to state that I have never said anywhere that the two Deputy Chief of Staff at the presidency have taken bribe money. However, a statement attached here, refer to the statement attached here, please. And if you look at the statement attached, it talks mainly about the fact that these people intervened in a decision to terminate Unibank's appointment. And in his view...
appointment as the service provider?
Yes, for the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. There's quite a history. And if the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital had adhered to an advice from the Controller and Accountants General Department, these issues would not arise in 2017.
Okay.
because there was a warning of a sort against engaging Unibank and even the Stanbic Bank, which eventually got the deal. So we have all of those documents, and it looks like the hospital at the time did not adhere to what the Controller and Accountant General advised.
Okay.
And they went ahead, and there are problems now. Someone wants to terminate the contract of one of the banks, and that bank thinks it has not been treated fairly. So if you read the Chief Executive of Kolebu, Dr. Felix Anya's statement, it looks like quite a number. The Minister of Health intervened, the Minister of Local...
And that's because on Newsfire yesterday, I heard Kukubako say something to the effect that the Unibank, or there was a letter, I don't know who it was meant for, that letter had indicated that Unibank made donations to the NPP. And it appears that they were, you know, coming from that background where they believe that we have supported the party get into power, and for which reason they thought that that
is the allegation made.
Okay.
That these two deputy chiefs of staff are supporting Unibank because there was made, but we are still following that. We have not found any evidence to that effect.
To that effect, okay.
But Kolebu itself wrote a letter to the Controller and Accountants General Department, and one of the reasons for selecting Unibank was that Unibank, as part of its corporate social responsibilities, had helped the hospital in a number of ways. And it was one of the reasons they gave Unibank this contract. Even though if you look at the other 5 companies were shortlisted, Unibank was number 4. Okay, Stanbic Bank was number 1, Unibank was number 4. And at the end of the day, they ignored the advice from the Controller and Accountants General Department and picked Unibank. And the problems that were listed here, or the reason for which they want Unibank out, were
the same
reasons.
So now, from where you sit and from the documents available to you, where do you think the problem is, really?
I think there are 2 issues here. We should separate the problems at Kolebu, which are legitimate problems, from the politics.
Okay.
If you say someone is corrupt, then you should be able to provide evidence for which that person is corrupt.
Okay.
If you are saying the person has not taken a bribe, and for now, the decision is hold on to what you intended to do. There has not been any communication to the effect that take Stanbic Bank out and give the contract to Unibank. For now, from what I have seen so far, the decision is hold on with what you intended to do.
Okay.
So if that has not been established, and perhaps in the coming days or weeks, somebody should come out to, because if you read through all the documents, you find it difficult to establish the exact incident of corruption.
Okay.
For the Kolebu...
wrap up on that so I can bring Malik in. He's been quite silent. I'm very uncomfortable when Malik is silent. He puts up all kinds of theories in that instance.
No.
So Malik, with the information available to us at the moment, and we have less than 5 minutes to wrap up on this. With the information available to us, as an editor, what do you see running through all of these? I mean, does it confuse you as much as it may confuse a lot of people? Manasseh does us a lot of good when he says we should try and separate the issues from Kolebu's day-to-day running and from the politics that's associated with this particular matter.
Okay, so first of all, my position initially was that we had been sent on a wild goose chase. With the allegations and the nature of the allegations and the manner in which they were made and the ambivalence that followed them. The introduction of the Kolebu angle appears to bring some life to the story, some credence. The original allegations which triggered all of the discussions, in my view, were simply a wild goose chase.
Some sort of politicking going on that we can just ignore.
I didn't see a lot of substance in them. We just had allegations being thrown out and feeding into our national desire for scandal and for allegations of this nature. So that desire was fed, but in substance, there was nothing much. But of course, with these outcomes from Kolebu about the inability of the institution to actually tell how much money is collected and the fact that there are revenue leakages which the hospital has struggled to deal with, I think that should be the discussion, that should be the story.
Okay.
But the allegations which form the basis for these discussions, in my respectful view, are not allegations that we should waste too much time on.
So going forward, you're thinking that we should focus, I mean, as media people, that we should focus more on Korle Bu?
I think time has proven that the allegations have no legs to stand on.
Okay.
And the person who made the allegations themselves, and he's my friend, by the way.
Which of them? A plus?
Yes, yes.
He's your friend?
He's
who would have thought?
Oh, well,
Why?
he's my friend.
Okay, I mean, I didn't.
It's interesting. I've known him for a couple of years now.
Oh,
and he comes anytime he comes to the building. He will come and see me, and we'll just talk.
Okay, so but going forward,
he himself has been, the way he has gone about it hasn't demonstrated that he's serious about the allegations.
Okay.
And today there's another video, I'm told, out.
Yes, I mean, I'm yet to see that video.
Which he's apologizing to the 2 deputy chiefs of staff and saying that he believes that they were misled. And that they have been deceived and lied to, and they were naive.
Okay.
And to that extent,
so
he thinks that they didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, so to a larger extent, this is something that we can easily ignore. But when it comes to Korle Bu, you and I know that it's not something you want to ignore. I mean, you've heard from very in-depth analysis and discussions here from people who have got depth, of course, and a depth of knowledge, having to cover all of these things. That going forward, the expectation is that we focus on the Korle Bu angle and see what is it that has gone wrong there. What is it that us taxpayers were losing? And this is about our health. So we ought to be very concerned about it. I saw a very interesting post, Manasseh, on your Facebook, which I think will be a part of the news as the week comes along, about some the president's 3-day visit, and the assemblies are being asked to pay about 5,000 each. Do you have concerns with that as well?
Yes, I think it doesn't make sense, because if you go to the assemblies, I toured the assemblies as part of my investigation on this sanitation issues, and I can tell you, some cannot afford their vehicles. So much money is deducted at source. They don't have money. If you visit an assembly in Ghana and you're able to get toilet roll, then it's like it should be a shock.
Okay.
So you don't tax them. And the office of the president has a budget. I believe
Actually,
all of these monies
they should be bringing some money from the presidency when they get there, with the level of centralization we have.
Others to these party boys and others to mass them around to misbehave. Otherwise,
so
why should the assembly fund the movement of the president?
Okay, well, we don't have time to talk about that, but certainly this is something, I mentioned it so you know that going ahead in the week is something that's certainly going to come up. Do you have any final words, Malik?
It's a very strange thing to happen. That's all I would say. It's very strange.
Strange happening. Okay, in the week ahead, we'll see. I mean, in the days ahead of the week, this is obviously the start of a new week. So in the days ahead of the week, we'll see how it goes. But thank you so much, gentlemen. It's always so much fun having you on the show. I mean,
when I come without him, when I come alone.
Actually, the two of you, I think it's a good blend.
No.
No. I've been speaking with Malik Abbas, Dabo, editor at JoyOnline.com, Manasseh Azura-Winnie, our multiple award-winning journalist. Oh, sorry? What I was usually say, authentic award-winning journalist Bakope, Manasseh Azura-Winnie, and I've been doing this with Ebenezer Kwashi, Yao Forsen, director, Joseph Kojo Logosu, sound, Isaac Amo on camera, Abraham Achichogbe on camera as well. America Sporting with the production, and Prince is an intern here. Didn't really support much, but I think that he did something good for me, so I wanted to mention his name. Thank you so much, gentlemen. We look forward to an eventful week. As journalists, that's how we thrive. My name is Gifty Andopia, but please stay safe and continue doing all the good work that you do. Like I say, change lives one person at a time. You have no idea what your contributions will make. Thank you so much for your time.